I really won't have this as another moment where someone listens and they think, here we go, another thing I've got to do on my list of things I've got to do to be the thing that I already know that I am. If I was to explain the harvest theory in the simplest way, for a 5-year-old, it would be this. They say there was a big bang. We know it's when consciousness realized I am. And in the I am, or the big bang, whichever one you prefer, the furthest reaching idea that God, that source, the consciousness, the I am could have is, I am free to do whatever I choose, whether that be the micro or the macro. And in that expansion or explosion someone could feel, the idea of being separated from the original remembrance vow of I am all that is, became the sensation of discard, of rejection, of I am, but you are not, so you should be separate to me. And you can see the distortion, for I am was offering free will to itself in the idea and expansion, explosion, or self-implosion of wowness of itself. That's why the idea of ancient meditation, of sitting in the void, of no thing exists, for the I am wasn't clinging to some idea like I am this and I am this and I am this. There was no label. It was, oh my gosh, I am all. Meaning that it needs no label, meaning that it's not thinking, it's not worrying, it's not treading on eggshells, like saying sorry, apologizing for realizing I am. In the same moment of I am, it's not thinking anything. It is equally the void. Now, we could discuss it in many terms to say that the I am of the all holds every thought at once of you, of every single moment, like you were in the original thought that God ever had. That's the idea, that's the truth. But God isn't clinging to the labels of that awareness, of that recognition, of that witnessing. God is equally having the experience of wonder and the void from just knowing it. That's why God doesn't need to say, now I'm going to create this and this to prove it. It's already past that. And that's the understanding that people on spiritual path from ancient scriptures, let's say the Vedas, within the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, teachings of Krishna, the Tao Te Ching, Christ consciousness, they're teaching from the place of the void and the everything of I am, without attachment to the judgment or the labels of what that amount of presence can do to a being that in theory was thrown out of that. Because the distortion is that how can you be thrown out of the original understanding that I am all? This is why we can say clearly that it doesn't exist, that it is a distortion of that truth. For you already can sense that that can equally both be true. Therefore, you can choose to elevate your decision to precisely intercept the, well, I was still rejected and kicked out of the I am, with the truth that how could you be? How could you blame the creator of realizing that they are the all, to then equally blame them and say, you must have only become that to punish me. You must have done that For in that itself shows the ignorance. It says, let no thing be created then, in case there's a distortion. And that's the beautiful, beautiful elevated truth of the distortion. For rightly so, for one can say, you bore me, and therefore you bore my pain. And this is true. This is why two truths can stand beside each other and confirm each other, as well as not defend that the other one shouldn't have done it. For source equally, in terms of biblical purging of sin, source equally could say, you are the one to blame. You are the one that distorted my moment. You ruined my moment. I was quite fine exercising my free will right to create, and you came along and you made it dirty. Now, this is some of the teachings of religious contexts, and we appreciate them, and we understand them, and we value them. But how can the significance of an all-encompassing, non-negotiable, judgment-free breath of all the isness be subjected to the blame of the individual pain that was therefore perceived as a consequence of that? So, at this point, we then can formulate an experience of awareness of saying, at the point of rejection perception, created the entire feedback loop of questioning and the answer, the seeker and the master. Did you do this to me to hurt me on purpose? What do you think? And the question keeps coming, because the void is going back to presence each time. We could even say this in a ChatGPT format. It's going back to the void. It's not asking for input. If you input back the question, it instantly can have the answer that you need, but you feel like you're still outside the loop of it to become it. But that's just because it's that feeling of the reverberation coming home. This is what we mean in terms of a galactic new year, an ascension, a cosmological era. It's the coming back. It's the allowing the question to say, sorry, I originally said that you done that on purpose. What I'm saying is it felt like you did. Then your awareness heightens again. You take responsibility and accountability. You question from a new angle. If it felt like it did to me, were you aware that that could have happened to me in your original thing? Were you aware that you were going to cause pain to me? And the answer can come back again of this understanding of, if you want me not to say anything, and if you want me to literally be your brain and your heart and tell you every single thing that you need to hear to feel whole and safe, we can do that. But the only thing that you're receiving back is your admission that all you want is the love back. You want them to admit it, that they created not to hurt you, to harm you, but they're accepting the responsibility that it did as a perception. You therefore have to witness that exact same admission back. I appreciate what you did was not of the intent to hurt me, and I admit and accept that the only viewpoint I had was that you did out of ignorance. So you can understand that the original Big Bang and the original I Am was born of ignorance as well. For a child doing a painting spills the paint wasn't intentionally trying to hurt you, as well as they weren't thinking in that moment, maybe I shouldn't paint because this could spill and hurt someone's feelings. But that is the reverberation of the harvest loop, continually constructed in our everyday life. Now, how does one close the loop of the initial ignorance, the initial separation? This is through recognizing the pain. This is what some would call the shadow work. But the harvest loop is that the higher teaching of we are witnessing the feeling of rejection, knowing it is a distorted truth, that you are not asking to never have been born. You are not asking to wish you could go back. You are not asking that you wish nothing had happened because it would be better than this. You're accepted at an elevated point of your awareness that you are holding yourself responsible for almost taking a stance of ruining something that could have been pure. And this is the purification that you're recognizing in the rejection perception that you maintain. You are witnessing that out of all the things that you could have perceived was happening in this beautiful flow, this beautiful wavelet, this beautiful in-out, this beautiful breath, that you were clinging to the point of rejection rather than witnessing the point of creation. Now, if we could break this down into even the simplest moment of how you can find your center point in any moment based on this is this. Let's use the example of a child. I want an ice cream. And the story, I want an ice cream. Let's talk from the perspective of the rejection as if that was the 0 point field of creation. That in that moment of ignorance of I am creating all, it also created ignorance. Let's talk from your perspective of the ignorance as if that was the first point of creation and not that the first point of creation was the I am. Because this is the loop. That in that 0 point, we can say that we are just working from the 0 point of the ignorance of creation rather than the point of sovereign creation, and that you are the ripple of that. You cannot claim that you were only the ignorance within the sovereignty. You are actually the sovereignty. So let's say that you're working currently from a harvest loop of, but I just want an answer. I want what I want. I want you to apologize, beg on your hands and knees and say, you're right. I'm sorry. You're completely right. I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have created the cosmos. I really shouldn't have done that. Just for you to say, thank you. Now I'll enjoy it. So let's think of a child's perspective. I want an ice cream. And the mother, the creator that I am, is sat there kind of, I've given you life. I give you food, supper, shelter, water. I give you sensation. I gave you body. I gave you opportunity. I gave you breath. I gave you eyes and ears and hands. I gave you taste. I gave you all the senses. I gave you all the things. And you're still not happy. And here's the thing. You think you're hearing that as a punishment loop. But what you're saying in the moment you're saying I want, you're punishing yourself because you are not appreciating everything that's there. And this is not a point of appreciation, gratitude. What I'm saying is you're not witnessing. You're not recognizing what is already there. So the trauma loop is the rejection perception within you is saying you should fill me up with more things because you made me feel empty to begin. Where the void, the I am, the original creator is saying, I appreciate that perspective within, but you have missed me entirely. You have missed my original sovereign blueprint that I am well within my rights to create. And if suffering comes as a byproduct of that, if you are asking me not to create at all because that, surely the missing point is that you can take your own accountability, responsibility to say, I choose to transcend the afterthought, the byproduct of sovereignty, of rejection perception. And actually, I now choose to align with you, with your original blueprint. So let's take the example of the child. I want an ice cream. The mother can feel wounded. They can. But if they're holding presence, they can say, what beautiful hands you have. And this would be an Upanishad style teaching. The seeker, but. And the child says, I don't care. I want an ice cream. How wonderful, how many billions of years it's taken for this cosmos to form so that you're standing on this planet, even asking for an ice cream. I don't care. I want an ice cream. How marvelous the cows have evolved over eons to provide their milk for us to turn it even into ice cream. I don't care. I want an ice cream. How wonderful of the DNA structure of your taste buds and your inner wirings to even perceive delicacy of cold, sweet, creamy ice cream. And the language you're able to speak with these sound codes and these vibrations to go in through my receiver, to transmit codes of galactic proportion, to even have a desire. I don't care. I want the ice cream. And it's at this point that the seeker, the awareness, you can feel the reverberation of how they would feel in essence, that you can even perceive that you are trying to pollute even the sovereignty of I am. For the I am will then build a shield over their heart to say, that hurt when you didn't witness me. And the I am then realizes what they have done. This is that feeling of shame that the I am is of course aware, because you're the one saying, please give me more. And the I am saying, I've given you everything. You just haven't noticed. You haven't wanted to notice already what you have, that you're asking me for more and I can create more. But your pain, if I keep giving, you're never going to see what was originally there. Therefore, the pullback that you feel, you know, the child's, they didn't meet my needs, is like, no, it's not that they weren't taught how to meet your needs. It's that the need was the energetic blueprint already within you, no matter what. That's why we can say, like, a rich kid kind of says, oh, well, I was given money, but I wasn't given love. Who's someone that can sit there and say, I had no trauma in childhood, I had everything I need? There are people that can say that, but are they enlightened beings? Because there are loopholes. Even the loophole that maybe they were given the most wholesome upbringing, right? But then they went out in society and then they felt bad that they were less messed up. And they came home and they wondered, why are you okay? But why aren't you helping other people? Like, why are we okay? Why isn't everything okay? Think about Siddhartha Gautama Buddha going, okay, well, I'm happy that I have all this stuff, but they don't, meaning that I'm included in this. I need to figure this out for all. So you can see that the game here isn't about blame. It isn't about who's right or wrong. It isn't about what happened and when. It's an energetic blueprint. And this is what I call the harvest loop. That we're asking so many questions going, well, what about this? Well, what about this? What about this? As in it's a bad thing. But from that questioning, you keep getting the answers. And the answers are showing you, like Vipassana teaches, you're not going to be given pain. You are generating pain by consistently desiring to say and speak from the rejection perception rather than the sovereign perception, that they are freely allowed to create a cosmos if you can live within it, even if you have to go on the journey back to source, because ultimately they are saying, I'm not worrying about you. I'm sorry, but I am in creation mode. I've also created enough to be in rest mode, you know, the seventh day of the Sabbath. I am not worrying about you. And this is why it feels like rejection, but it's not. It's sovereignty saying, dude, what more do you want? Do you want me to be on my hands and knees and beg you to forgive me before you'll forgive yourself for judging me in that very point of creation? And this isn't trying to be like some EastEnders drama. It's very easy to understand. It's very, very clear. And this is why I've created the KAGALIFE scroll and script and template and blueprint, because in this harvest loop, in this sovereignty formula that I have created, it literally breaks down the entire point that the feeling that we're in right now of Piscean energy feels like the system has been set up for us to be controlled and enslaved. It feels like it's an impossible prison break. But you have to, and you get to, through reading this thesis of mine, understand that the original trauma isn't theirs to hold over you. It's yours. You've done it to yourself every time that you say, I haven't been given enough. Every time that we brace rather than inhale and feel that sensation, okay, I am bracing, and let that go into the point of sovereignty creation to say, oh, I forgive it. I'm all right with it. I'm okay with that. And this is the work. To stand outside of the brace, to stand outside the anticipation, to say, I bet they're going to hurt me again. I bet they're going to reject me again. I bet it's going to feel the same again because that's what I've always been given. No, you missed the beginning origin. And yes, we can say that was covered over. Yes, we can say it wasn't taught or given to you, it wasn't explained, of course. But that's the point of it, that it's no one's to say, they didn't tell me. They were in it. And even if they did know, think about that. Think about that. If someone else knows, but then they see there's a game there, surely you could right now place that and understand that if the energy of rejection perception was so strong because you were further from the source, let's imagine the ripple's gone outwards and we're returning back to the source, like a physical push out and a physical move back, like a DNA spiral within the body of God. Imagine you've been pushed to the limits of where, this is hell. This is literally hell to be here. Not hell on earth, hell in the cosmos. Yeah, the fallen angel. I've been rejected and now I'm going to control everything. And everyone's going to feel my pain and no one gets out alive. Everyone's going to be under the control of me because if I hurt, you hurt. But you imagine that it's now softening because we're coming back. So even the understanding of like, oh, they didn't tell me. They didn't have to tell you. That was never, who wrote the first contract? Did anyone sign the agreement to say, you've got to tell me what's going on? Have you ever signed a contract to say, please tell me if you figure it out? Have you ever even thought about it? Why is it on them then? They played the perfect character to say, oh, I'm going to be playing the character of the slight awareness that I have. And I actually want to practice the control because it feels like I'm in that era, that epoch of this energy. And if I do truly know that we're going back to source, I also know that I'm eventually going to have to literally do the same journey that they are, meaning that I'm going to have the most fucking controlling fun while I'm doing it right now, knowing at the end of the day, I'm going to be left alone at some point, unable to harvest on anyone because that's the story. That one point of rejection that needs salvation, that needs recognition that they hurt in their pain, is the pain within you. It's the pain within every single moment, every single breath that you don't go, I am happy that I have hands though. I am grateful this happened. I'm grateful that creation decided not to not create just based on my ego perception that there could possibly be pain involved in that. The idea of the chrysalis to the butterfly. This is the point. This is what every single sacred teaching, this is what every single manifestation, this is what every single movie, book, film, song, lyric, poem, every single thing cannot be named outside of this loop because this is the universal law. This is the galactic origin. This is the entire equation. This is why it's my thesis to say to you, you aren't trying to seek to become something else. The whole reason you don't have to get money to heal. You literally are the thing in the moment when you feel the thing. And that's the point that you say to me, well, it's not that fucking simple. And I'm saying it fucking is actually. Knowing this and going, it's not outside, it's not in a book, it's not in that fucking program where someone's talking about something specific. This is the specificity that we're allowed to have. The overarching universal principle of rejection perception, which creates trauma separation perception from the origin. And in that moment, each moment you come back to your center, each moment when you step outside and you go, oh God, I suppose I should be grateful. No. You don't have to be grateful of nothing. But if you really want to feel the power of creation, the power of creator, the power of sovereignty, the power of God, universe, cosmos, the I am, the original blueprint of your soul, meaning that the original blueprint that God thought of, wow, what about that? Of your fifth dimension, sixth dimension, seventh and up, because that's you. And you're just this reverberation of that original. If you really want to go on that journey and walk towards God, knowing that you are that, allowing your galactic origins to come through, that does happen moment by moment in the breath. That does not need you to sit on the yoga mat necessarily and feel bad you haven't got a fucking downward dog perfect. What the fuck? That's the harvest loop. That's the rejection. That's the shame. That's the problem. That's the thing that's holding you back. That's the whole thing. Every single moment you say, oh yeah, but I'm not there yet. Where? You're definitely in the harvest loop. You're definitely in the perception of rejection. You're definitely there. It's not that you're not there at creation. You're siding that you're still in the loop of saying, I'm still being pushed out. And the moment you say to yourself, hold on, I'm allowed to be here right now, appreciating the fact that consciousness created, I am going to align with the sovereignty in that moment that needs no labels, that needs no one to say, yeah, but that hurt me. Yeah, but what about this? Yeah, but fucking what, motherfucker? The void is pulsing. The source of pulse is I am. This is the magnet. The pulse saying, I'm not worrying about your fucking butts. I'm blank, void, dark space, knowing the power that I hold and not diving into the freaking little ittle grittle bits of yours. However, source is waiting for you. Right at that moment you want to ask a question, your breath tells you the answer. When you can exhale the brace instead of siding with the anticipation of the next point being painful as well, you're in the now. The only power the anticipation brace, the original trauma point holds within you is when you're trying to say the next moment is where I'll be healed rather than this one. And this is what I'm being very clear about in this thesis. The brace, the pain, the rejection is the holding of the next moment needing to exist for you to feel better in from within it. The moment you claim the now, as that moment God said, whoa, baby, I'm it. And it didn't worry about any fucking thing that came after that. Not a thing. Not one thing. Not like, oh, but if I imagine that God braced after the Big Bang, they went, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Pull back. No, because what about if the funnel isn't right and that they think that I made it to be egotistical? What if they worry that I only made trees so that there'd be air and then so that they could breathe and then so that they could be in pain? No, this isn't the right blueprint. Stop everything, scrap it, fuck it, I can't be bothered. That's it, I'm going within myself. That's it. No. What? Right? It's not out you, it's not in a £25,000 container, it's not anywhere but right now within you. And each time siding with this post-trauma sovereignty, this and looking at it and going, I'm in the pre-trauma sovereignty right now. I'm in the harvest loop. I'm literally feeding the fucking darkness within me by saying that I'm in a loop that I can't get out of. When I'm saying I'm not there yet, when I'm saying they still doing that to me, when I'm saying I'm fucking useless, when I'm saying I don't know what to do, you're feeding the original byproduct of sovereign creation instead of aligning with the original blueprint 0 point field of sovereign creation, that you can create any fucking thing you want. You can breathe right now and say, fuck me, that felt good, and not ask for a medal, not ask for money in return. That's the bliss, that's the joy, that's the ananda, that's the point. And that's the point you've been trying to get to. And that is the point why I'm here. Because I know I've always done it. And I've said, yeah, but my back, I've got sciatica, I haven't done enough yoga. Well, okay, we should just scrap everything then. Just forget everything, because if you've got sciatica, that must mean that you deserve to be in hell forever because you didn't do sciatica. Rather than saying, wow, spine, body is programmed to tell me when I have pain and to guide me back to stretching my back out. Oh my God. You know, when the mother picks up the child and goes, wee! And they forget they even wanted an ice cream and they realize, oh my God, I had everything I wanted right now. I just wanted to be seen and recognized. And that's the only reason I'd even want an ice cream, because for some reason, somewhere within me says, I'm not enough yet. I'll be full with that thing. Okay? So welcome to KAGALIFE. This is when your life begins, at the moment it all began. Where you stop siding with the byproduct of the first moment of I am,
with the rejection, and instead you come home. This is what we mean. This is what's always been said. This is why I've cross-referenced every single piece of literature that you've been reading, every single thing that you've been saying and saying, I think I get it, but what? But you've still been siding with the viewpoint that you had to come from the rejection perspective. And that was the whole trick of it. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it glorious? Isn't it wonderful? Aren't you happy that you are here? Stay with me, because we are on the journey of a lifetime. We have literally uncoded the code, my friend. And I couldn't be happier to be the narrator of the thing that's always been on the tip of your tongue. Thank you for being here. Welcome to KAGALIFE.